how did you get into this particular form of law?
It's a good question. I was doing general litigation when I graduated from law school at a big law firm. And a couple of the people who were partners at the firm, well, there was a person who was a partner and he was leaving to start a new practice. And at that time, most people either were uh, estate planners who did probate and did estate plans, or you were a litigator and you went to court and fought about you know, Dow Chemical or, you know, this company or that company. And there wasn't really probate litigation. You know, you'd kind of not really have the expertise to walk both of those lines. Well, this lawyer that I was working with, who was a partner, who was a mentor to me, said, "Hey, you know, come work with us if you'd like to try to do something different." And about a year and a half later, I was sort of, you know, when you're young, you do something a couple years, you're like, oh my God, I've been doing this forever. I want to move on. And you look back now, it's been 30 plus years. You go, oh my gosh, I could have done that longer, but it felt like it was forever. Right? But it's perspective. So I left and I joined that firm and found that it was interesting because, you know, it's interesting people with specific facts, and it's not just $1 million here versus $1 million there, one insurance company versus another. But really, you know, these are issues that affect people's lives. So I have found that to be very rewarding. And again, I stumbled on it, but I later learned that this really is my mission because I found some information about my own family history that has led me to understand that I fell into this unusual practice area for a very specific reason.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's a good tease. I like that because we will get into that in a little bit.
Well, he had already put a tease out there about his mission. Okay, so
I'm a tease, you know, tease a little.
So
as long as you pay off.
So how did that lead to your life's mission, Terry?
So I'd been practicing doing trust and estate litigation for about 25 years when I found out that there was actually a story in my own family history, a will contest. It turns out that my great-great-great-great-grandmother was a enslaved woman, and she was owned by my great-great-great-great-grandfather. Now, he did a will in 1846 that set her free along with her 8 children and her 6 grandchildren, and they had to make their way to freedom. But I didn't know any of this. In 2014, I had a great aunt who was turning 100, and I wanted to do something special to commemorate her life and how significant she'd been for our family, because she was born in 1914. She walked 4 miles each way to get her college degree at Southern Illinois University, and she married a Tuskegee Airman, and she traveled with him before he went off to war, and she taught the other children of Tuskegee Airmen, but she was a matriarch in her family. So I wanted to do something special to commemorate her life as she was turning 100. And I remembered, and if I'm going too far into the details of this story, I'll stop me, but I remembered that we had this family reunion a few years before, and part of the family reunion materials included like this little excerpt of a will that was typed up, like in a cursive font. Some of us are old enough to remember fonts. You take that little ball, you put it in the computer, in the typewriter, you type it. So somebody had done something in a cursive font because they wanted to make it seem like handwriting. And it was a short portion of this little will. It was an excerpt that said, "I, John Sutton, being of sound mind but infirm in body, hereby, create this last will and testament." It said, "In God's name, amen," at the top. And it said that I own the following property, to wit, a mulatto slave, Lucy, aged about 45, and her 8 children, and it named them all by name and age, Easter age 27, all the way down to the little toddler who was just 14 months old. And it said, I want them all to be set free and to be moved to a state like Ohio or Indiana or Illinois, a free state. And so, I wanted to try to track down a copy of this will to commemorate Aunt Viola's birthday. In fact, here she is. It's kind of hard to see with glare in my ring light, but there's Aunt Viola there. And that's her husband, wow. Uncle Harold, behind her. That's my grandmother and grandfather there. My great-grandparents are here. So they had... so I wanted to find this document, and I went looking through my old papers back to this reunion from 2001, and I thought, I'm a trust and estates litigator. I should be able to find these documents, right? Because the excerpt in the page said exactly where they had been recorded, that there was a copy that was recorded in Southern Illinois, Pope County, that there was a copy that was recorded in Ware County, Georgia, where the family had lived, and the original was in Duval County, Florida, in Jacksonville. So I'm like, I'm a fellow in the American College of Trust and Estate Counsel. I was the first. I was the first African American fellow in the college in 2001, which is still frustrating. Still frustrating to me that organization that was in existence since 1949, that I had the timing to be the first, because I certainly shouldn't have been the first, and I've been working hard to get more in there. I think there's 6 of us now, but it's a slow going battle, but it's a process. But I knew I had this directory, and I could call people up in Georgia, in Florida, and I should be able to ask them if they could help me. So I called a couple of lawyers and I left messages. I said, I'm looking for this document from 1846. And the first person called me back and she said, left a message. Well, there was the Great Fire of Jacksonville of 1901.
Always the fire.
Always
the fire.
Burn
it
down.
Exactly.
Okay.
Burn it down. So there was this Great Fire of Jacksonville in 1901, destroyed the entire city. So she said, you're probably not going to find anything. But then I got a call back from this paralegal, and she said, I got your message. And I started telling her about my great aunt and how special she was, this matriarch who remembered everybody's birthdays. And I said, I know there was the fire, and so you probably can't find anything. And she said, yeah, there was the fire, but let me see what I can do. Mm-hmm. So by the end of that day, I had an email back from her, and she said, well, we found a John Sutton file. We don't know if it's the right one, but we should have it by Friday of this week, right? And then this was, mind you, this is the week before I'm going back to Illinois for my great aunt's 100th birthday celebration.
Wow.
And that Friday morning I go in, there's an email from her, and she's like, we found it. It's a John Sutton file. What do you want me to do? I said, take pictures. And across the internet comes these images from 1846 of this envelope with a red wax seal, before they had lick 'em stick 'em envelopes, and you'd fold over paper and you'd seal it. And here was this 2-page document that was written by a lawyer that my great-great-great-great-grandfather had marked his X on, that set our family free. And I was like, this is why I do what I'm doing. Suddenly the light goes on. The light goes on.